vaccine has been secured. The Celtics are NBA champions.
The 2024 NBA Finals are over, and the Boston Celtics have captured a title. The Celtics have won their 18th championship in franchise history, led by two superstar franchise players in Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum. The Celtics' journey to Banner 18 was storybook, even for a franchise with this much history. The 2023-2024 Celtics have been through such a grueling process to make it back into the finals, and were one of the best teams in franchise history. Let's unravel how the Celtics got to this point, and most importantly, analyze and predict what is next for the franchise going forward. Go get another. Fresh off of a 41-40 record and losing a 6-game series to the New York Knicks, the clock was ticking and all but expired on the Boston Celtics championship window. When the season embarked on this journey to restoring the pride of a historic franchise and reestablishing a championship pedigree, major changes were going to have to occur within the team's philosophy and within the organization, which seemed ready to embrace the moment of rebuilding the roster and the coaching staff. One of the most iconic coaches in NBA and Celtics franchise history, Doc Rivers, with an aging roster consisting of iconic players in Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Rajon Rondo, needed to move on. Much like former franchise player Ray Allen did, the Celtics had to graduate from the shadow of what had been done and into the new world of NBA basketball heading right for them.
We're getting older. It was like if I may have a situation where I have to trade you guys.
Boston decided the first domino to fall would have to be head coach Doc Rivers, who at this point was in his early 50s and having already been a part of 4 different franchise rebuilds during his coaching career. Rivers was not at this point interested in hearing all about that rebuild stuff, instead opting for retooling the roster to make another run at a championship, which would open the door for the Celtics and Rivers to eventually part ways. And on June 23rd, 2013, after days of negotiation with the Los Angeles Clippers, the Boston Celtics would agree on a trade that would send the franchise's 16th head coach to LA in exchange for a first-round pick. The Clippers agreed to send the Celtics a first-round pick in 2015. With the head coach out the picture, the Celtics would now look to unload Pierce, 35, and Garnett, 37, contracts to truly kick off the rebuild. Boston, unable to gain any interest from teams willing to give the Celtics a first-round pick for Pierce, and then botched the deal that could have landed them DeAndre Jordan and Eric Bledsoe. Adding Garnett to the Rivers deal was DOA. The NBA, and especially former Commissioner David Stern, was adamant that players and coaches could not be a part of the same transaction, citing a violation of league rules, which forced Boston to look elsewhere if they were going to accrue enough draft capital to reset the franchise. Enter in the ever so eager Brooklyn Nets. On June 27, 2013, the Nets would send the Celtics a haul of veteran players and, most important, first-round picks. The players Boston received in the deal was not really important to the story of the Celtics, mainly because most of them didn't even last more than a season, if that, with Boston, with the exception of Gerald Wallace, who played like 90 games. However, with us having hindsight of this deal, it's easy to say that the Nets got fleeced, and this trade would change both franchises for an entire decade and impact the history of the NBA that we see today, building a champion. After the dust settled in Boston, the Celtics hired 36-year-old Butler head coach Brad Stevens to replace longtime head coach Doc Rivers. July 3rd, 2013, just days after the trade was first reported, Stevens' Celtics squad was expected to be one of the worst in basketball that year, having the 5th lowest over-under total. The Celtics season matched the expectations for sure, going 25-57 that year, finishing with one of the league's worst records. The Celtics would waste no time putting their fans through the ringer of bad to mid seasons, only to be looking at the future of what this team could be. Utilizing the draft capital they received from the Nets, Boston was set to find their next franchise players and get the Celtics back into respectability in the NBA. The draft pick in the deal for Doc Rivers ended up being the number 28 overall pick in the 2015 draft. The Celtics used that pick to select R.J. Hunter, a guard out of Georgia State. Hunter ended up playing 36 games his rookie season for Boston, but was waived by the team the next season. He finished his NBA career with a total of 45 games played. Yikes, family, that is not how you start a rebuild. Thankfully, the Celtics still had an ace up their sleeves, the Nets picks. Those picks would prove to be more fruitful for Boston, for sure. The first of those picks was the 24th 2014 selection of James Young from the University of Kentucky, which I'm sure fans will want me to skip over, but yeah, let's just do this real quick. Young played 3 seasons with Boston, and that's all you really need to know about his time with the Celtics. So moving on, then Boston finally started getting this drafting thing right with the front office led by Danny Ainge. The Celtics would land the first part of the dynamic duo by selecting an explosive and versatile Jaylen Brown, Cal Berkeley. Brown was projected of having a high ceiling with the potential to develop into a two-way star, giving the indication the Celtics were looking to bring in versatile two-way players to adapt to the modern NBA. In addition to the Brown selection, the Celtics would flip their 2017 first-round pick with the Philadelphia 76ers and drafted Jayson Tatum out of Duke, another versatile player who had elite scoring capabilities and just needed to put a little bit more time in the defense. But if he tapped into it, he would be another two-way star as well. And as for the 2018 pick the Celtics received, Boston included it in a package that landed them All-NBA guard Kyrie Irving from the Cleveland Cavaliers. For the Cavaliers, they used that pick to draft Colin Sexton out of Alabama. Don't worry, Brooklyn, the Cavs got fleeced too. Game of runs. With the young core of players now ushering in a new brand of basketball for the Celtics, the franchise was marching ahead to what it could be. As with all great teams, however, the process of climbing the mountain would come with a long road full of ups and downs. Tatum was being viewed as one of the best players from his draft class and is a 4-time All-Star. Additionally, Tatum had been selected to 2 All-NBA first teams and 1 All-NBA third team. Brown would be selected to make an All-Rookie team, then later become a 3-time All-Star and All-NBA player. The Celtics would now start making routine playoff appearances and posting great regular seasons. Brown and Tatum both emerged as franchise players the organization was hoping for, and even the roster around them had a lot of changes over the years, but the duo would weather the storm through it all. Boston went to back-to-back conference finals in 2016 and 17, both Brown and Tatum's rookie seasons respectively, losing to LeBron James both times. A second-round loss to the Bucks in 2018, 2019, Jimmy Butler, aka Playoff Jimmy, and the Miami Heat, a first-round beatdown in 2020, and then came the real heartbreaker in 2021.
They're going to beat Golden State for the NBA championship. Pat Bev, tell me I'm wrong.
You need to be drug tested.
Losing the finals to the Golden State Warriors on their home court, making fans and the media to speculate, could this team win a championship being so exposed on such a big stage?
Is it time for the Celtics to be breaking up their duo of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown?
The skeptics only got louder after a disappointing 2022 playoff run saw the Celtics go down again on their home court to the Miami Heat in the conference finals after forcing a dramatic 7-game series. But missing out on a championship run again built the Celtics hunger to capture a ring, and the chase was on from there. Chasing history. The Celtics already had a core identity for how they wanted to play and what the culture was going to be in the 2023 season. Not only were they chasing the chance to put the Celtics ahead of all NBA franchises with the most championships ever, breaking the tie with the Los Angeles Lakers, but they also wanted to smash that ceiling that many had put on the Brown and Tatum duo. A quick recap to this point. As I said, the Celtics had done a lot of moving and shaking, both with the roster and also on the bench. So Brad Stevens moved into a front office role with the organization back in June of 2021 due to Ainge retiring, then weirdly unretiring to join the Utah Jazz. With the promotion, Boston needed a new head coach again, and ironically they turned to Brooklyn Nets assistant coach Ime Udoka to lead the franchise. Udoka would take the Celtics to the NBA Finals for his first and only season as a head coach, and we kind of know what happened there. Let's just say an amicable party. Amicable. Doubt it. They suspended the dude. As head of basketball ops, Stevens got to work moving the roster around to clear up enough money and bring in core pieces to their championship run, which included trading Kemba Walker to OKC to bring back fan favorite and versatile big man Al Horford, then trading for Spurs guard Derek White during the 2022 season, getting some less productive players off the books for the Celtics and bringing in a high-end 3-and-D player was a low-key genius move. Signing Jaylen Brown to a big bag, making him the highest paid player in NBA history at that point, followed up by trading for another unicorn player in center/forward Kristaps Porzingis from the Washington Wizards, moving on from a defensive player of the year in Marcus Smart and a former 6th overall pick by the Celtics back in 2014. It wasn't all bad in that 2014 draft, right? After having to move on from Udoka, the Celtics would promote assistant coach Joe Mazzulla to put stability on the bench with a coach that the players were familiar with and understood the expectations that the franchise had to win a championship. The final move to bring this all together was making sure the team had a starting caliber point guard to balance the talented wing players and help slow the game down in the half court. Insert the best move leading up to the start of the 2023 season. The Celtics would acquire Drew Holiday in exchange for Malcolm Brogdon and center Robert Williams and 2 future first-round picks. With the clip emptied by Brad Stevens, all the moves have been made, and so the Celtics would finish the 2023 regular season with the best record in the league, posting a 64-18 record, which ranks 4th all-time in franchise history, coupled with a dynamic offense and stifling defense, proving the moves that Stevens made were all worth it on paper and in the regular season. But as we are reminded, nobody cares. We want to see them banners.
So this is good. Obviously, it's a step on the way, but no one cares.
Banner 18, having the expectations hanging over this Celtics team during Tatum and Brown's 7 seasons together as franchise players weighed heavy on the stars and organization. Together, this team navigated many familiar foes in the Eastern Conference to earn a trip to the NBA Finals. The Celtics would blow through the crippled Eastern Conference, losing only 2 games and sweeping the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, leading into the Finals matchup with another talented duo from Dallas. The Mavericks were looking to cap off an impeccable turnaround of their own after finishing 5th in the Western Conference in 2023. Mind you, they didn't even make the playoffs in 2022. And Boston got another look at a player from its past in Kyrie Irving. Yeah, that divorce right there was not pretty. So while people were questioning the Celtics' mettle, starting to say that the Celtics weren't good that year, the Eastern Conference was too easy, the weaker conference, and Boston only got there due to injuries on their side of the bracket.
Kind of hard this year, myself included.
So you're saying you're coming.
Plus, the alpha leader, best player on the team conversation came up again between Jaylen Brown and Jayson Tatum after Brown took home Eastern Conference Finals MVP. The Celtics have been through more than their fair share of battles and weren't going to let another chance at a championship ring slip them by. In Game 1 and Game 2, they showed how good they were and were able to make those clutch baskets when needed, especially on the defensive side, getting major stops and contributions from everybody on the court. Game 3 was the steal game, the one that they needed on Dallas's home court, and they got that. Jaylen Brown making that crazy shot at the end, waving off for an ISO, that was a big bucket.
The screen, drives, pulls up, jump shot, puts it in.
Game 4, they let the Mavericks have that one, and at least they avoided the sweep. But if Boston had won that game, that would have been the first time that a team has swept their conference finals and the NBA finals. But as the script goes, we needed to see a Game 5 in Boston, and we got that. And with the Celtics winning that game, it was their 80th win on the season, including their 16th playoff win against 21 total losses. That put their winning percentage at .79 for the entire season, which put Boston's campaign into the top 10 all-time winningest seasons in NBA history. And just like that, the 2023-2024 Celtics had captured a ring of their own. With the Celtics' history being so important to the fabric of the NBA story, this moment for the NBA had become something of a fairy tale story. What they going to say now? Now that this Celtics team has opened the book of championship basketball, the real work begins. Getting 1 ring is cool, but can you prove that you can win 2 or maybe even 3?
Not 2. LeBron, tell us about that.
Not 2, not 3. Not 4.
In the last decade of NBA basketball, the Golden State Warriors were the last team to capture back-to-back NBA titles. A little before that was the Miami Heat in 2012 and 2013. So getting the first is always good. Got to get that one out the way. But with mainstream media proposing that the Celtics can become a dynasty, especially with the duo of Brown and Tatum still being under the age of 30, and a front office dedicated to strengthening a championship roster, another title run is clearly not out of the question for at least the next 3 seasons. Now, most really good teams get remembered for capturing 1 ring. Great teams go back to back. All-time legendary teams that go down as true dynasties are born with at least 3 rings, in my opinion. And the NBA would agree. A 3-peat in the NBA is like mind-blowing crazy, yo. Like last time we had a 3-peat, it was Shaq and Kobe in the 2000, 2001, and 2002 seasons, which now is like over 2 decades ago. So suffice it to say, a 3-peat is crazy. And we just came out of a Big 3 era, which has been totally replaced by the NBA going back to that dynamic duo roster build, and it's working. Brown and Tatum have an edge the Celtics name back in the history, and the Denver Nuggets doing it last season. The league is set to have franchises be rewarded for drafting 2 franchise players, letting them develop under the right coach, and making a championship run. The last dynasties that we had in the NBA, teams look pretty similar to what the Celtics do now. 2 all-time great two-way players, at least 1 to 2 all-time great players who can play both sides of the ball, star role players, and them young players that can hoop and contribute to the team when called on. I am not predicting that the Celtics can go back-to-back until we get a little closer to the start of the 2024 season, and this summer is gearing up to be something to remember. The East being the weaker conference is a lot of media talking points. To me, top teams in the East have former league MVPs and all-time great players too, so the road to a repeat isn't going to be easy for these Celtics. If Boston can keep developing their young players on the team and maybe avoid Giannis and the Bucks in the playoffs, the Celtics got a shot to be right back in the Eastern Conference Finals for sure. Now, depending on who comes out of the West for matchup purposes, I really like their chances to beat most of the teams out West in a 7-game series outside of maybe a toss-up series to the Denver Nuggets. Getting Kristaps Porzingis back healthy will be a key for the early run of the regular season if Boston wants to at least try to keep that home court going and not fall too behind of capturing the 1 seed again. Now, barring health, I do have the Celtics going back into the Eastern Conference Finals and competing for the next 2 championships in the NBA. For now, Celtics fans, let's enjoy Banner 18 because Banner 19 may or may not be lurking around the corner. Hey, so guys, let me know in the comment section, what do you think about the Celtics run this year? And do you see them hanging up Banner 19 anytime soon? At least for the 2024-2025 season. But hey, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, family, peace.
What they gonna say now? What they gonna say now?